So I get asked this question a lot. Can you make a full-time living as a background actor? The short answer is yes, but it is definitely not easy. What's going on? My name is Scott Schertzen. I am almost a Z-list celebrity, and today I am taking you through the exciting world of being a background actor and what you get out of it. Now, background acting right out of the gate is probably the laziest side hustle on the planet. Your job will typically involve one of three different responsibilities. It's going to require your ability to A, walk, B, stand up, and C, sit down. And that is about 99% of the work that you're going to be doing when it comes to being a background actor. They might have some occasional things outside of that, but by and large, this is going to be your responsibility while you're on a film set. This, of course, is in between the times that you're going to be sitting and holding for several hours, playing on your phone, and still getting paid. But the question remains, is there enough work to be a full-time background actor? Yes, like I said, it is possible, but it's going to be very difficult to do. I'm going to be taking you through a little bit as far as the numbers go today. I'm going to be taking you through a recent check that I just got for a gig on set last week with my car. I'm going to take you through the breakdown on that. I will also be talking a little bit about certain things like night premium, meal penalties, and all the other incidentals that sort of just add up along the way. So the numbers I'm going to be running with are going to be out of the New York City area here, which admittedly is one of the highest paying areas in the entire country. What a SAG background actor or even a non-union background actor will get in the New York City, New Jersey area is going to be a lot higher than it's going to be in, say, like Utah, Wyoming, or, a lot of the other places throughout the country. So, right out of the gate, let me start non-union first. Here in New Jersey and New York, you walk in the door at $187. That's for the first 10 hours. So it doesn't matter if you're there for just 1 hour and they wrap you out. It doesn't matter if you're there for 10 hours. As soon as you set foot on set and check in, you're guaranteed $187. Because the way the system works for non-union is your first 2 hours of overtime are automatically built into the system. So it's based on the minimum wage rate. And then from there, additionally, on top of it, they add 2 hours of overtime built in automatically into your base rate. That's where they come up with the 187. Now, on the SAG side of things, you get $224 to walk in the door. That's the rhyme I came up with at this point. The strikes may happen at the end of June at this point for 2026, so I might have to re-up these numbers and do another video, but for right now, that's what we're standing at. So, I want to show you the pay stub that I got recently in this to give you an idea of how the numbers are going to break down, talk a little bit about some of the other incidentals, and like I said, how you can do this job maybe even 3 times a week, and yeah, pull in a full-time income. So right out of the chute, this is the first half of the pay stub that I got last week for a shoot on set. As you can see on there, I got $224 to start my day, which works out to be an hourly rate of $28 an hour with a guaranteed 8 hours. So in this case, if I was wrapped out after 1 hour, I would still get $224 regardless. Anything after 8 hours paid, lunch does not count in that. You would actually start getting overtime, and I'll break that down a little bit more. Now, in my case, one of the biggest parts of being able to be a regular background actor comes from your ability to bring certain things to set. So for me, a lot of times I'll bring a certain car to set, depending on which one they want. If you happen to have a police uniform and all the trimmings that go along with it, I could talk about getting a cop uniform at another time. No easy picnic. You usually have to know somebody to do it, but you can get pretty regular work as a cop in that area. Here in the New York City area, Lord knows we have, we have 2 Law and Orders going on right now, 2 FBIs, and whatever is going on. We just had Blue Bloods for 14 seasons. We had Blacklist for, 9 or 10 years on that. We had organized crime. This is like NYPD Central over here. So if you have a uniform, you get paid, $25 on that, which is an easy way to get an additional gig. Now, from my side with the car, you get $37.50 to bring your car to set. If there is tolls involved because you're out of the zone, I'll talk about out of the zone in a second, then you would also get additional tolls going into New York City. So they were pretty generous on this production. They gave us $18 for tolls there. Plus also, if you see on the right side there, we were 48 miles away from where either the production office was or Columbus Circle. It's usually one of the 2 places that they'll use in a case like this. So that worked out to be 30 cents an hour on top of it. So I got $14.40 for mileage, plus 18 for tolls, plus $37.50 for the car. So the car and driving the car to set from New Jersey, which I would have to probably do anyway, paid me an extra $69.90. What the background mobile $1 is, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. Let me know in the comments if you happen to know what that is, because to be honest, I actually don't know, but if they want to give me an extra dollar, you know what, screw it, I'll let them do that. Now, if you look at the second part of this, you'll see my name on there, you'll see neighbor with car, which is my official role, and bringing a 2017 gray Toyota Corolla. My in time on paper was 12:30. We had to report with the car at 1:30. Now, the way the system typically works here in the New York City area and the rest of the country, they all have what they call out of zone. So for New York City, if you are 8 air miles, as the crow flies, outside of Columbus Circle or sometimes their production office, depending on which they decide to work with on that, you will actually get travel on top of it. That's how the tolls part came in. That's how the mileage came in with the car. But your in time is based on what the commute time would be. So if other background actors are coming with you on this one, you're bringing cars they're not, what time the bus leaves. Our report time was 1:30 p.m. Our in time on paper, however, was 12:30 p.m. So we got an extra hour for that travel time because they were referred to as out of the zone. On the other side of the equation, what also happened there is we got an extra hour of travel back. So even though I was only on set from 1:30 to about 10 p.m., roughly give or take with an hour lunch, I got 2 hours of additional time there back and forth because of the fact that we were out of the zone. We got a 1 hour lunch. So as you can see on the bottom right down there, I got a net hour of 9.6 hours on paper. Now, the way that system works is the first 8 hours, like I mentioned, is regular standard time. So that's my 224. What happens after that is that 1.6 hours counts as time and a half. So our base rate is $28 an hour. Time and a half would be $42 on top of that. So that's how the math works out. My overall check for this, I think, was like $384, $394, somewhere in that ballpark. I don't remember exactly what it is. If you guys want to do the math, you're more than welcome to. But that was about what we got for what ended up being about 8.5 hours on a film set, lunch included. Now, you don't get paid for lunch, but it is little ways to be able to add up on something like this. After 10 hours, it is double time, so your $28 an hour becomes $56 an hour. If you're able to get golden time, which has happened to me a handful of times at this point, not very often, I'll do a golden time video probably down the line, but that's where basically you get your base rate every hour. So as soon as it hits 16 hours and 1 minute, lunch doesn't matter in this case here, so if you're in at, say, 4 a.m., and then by 8 p.m. you're still on set, once it hits 8:01, you get an additional $224 an hour every single hour after that. And as soon as it hits 1 minute into that golden time, bam, you get an extra $224, which really changes the dynamic and the energy of the day if you're a background actor or stand-in. You know, at one time I did have a double golden time as a stand-in, and it was absolutely worth the sprained foot I got on set that day because the entire vibe feels different. The income is skyrocketing. Typically with golden time, someone's going to get fired, but it ain't going to be you. Not your fault. Just go on. Steve Miller, that thing, go on and take the money and run. So with a production like this, they do try to keep the hours sometimes a little bit lower if they can. So it's going to be dependent on the production itself, how they operate and everything like this. If it's out of the zone, that obviously helps your income a little bit there. Additionally, and I want to mention this as well, there are certain other incidentals in there. If it's smoke, if it's rain, they add certain things to the base rate there. If you go from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m., then you get a 10% bump as what's called a night premium on your base rate. So if your base rate is $28 an hour, $42 an hour, $56 depending on overtime, you get a 10% bump on top of that if you're working during hours 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. From 1 a.m. to 6 a.m., it's a 20% bump. So if you're making $56 an hour and you get a 20% bump on that, that is an extra $10 an hour that you're making. So you're at this point about $67 an hour to be doing the same thing that you were doing when you were getting there. Again, primary responsibility, standing, sitting, walking. Tough gig. It can suck, by the way, if it's rain or it's cold or you're sitting there having to do winter scenes in the middle of July or summer scenes in the middle of January. I have done both out of this area. They both kind of suck. Although for my money, I'd rather do winter scenes in summer. But the other side of it, too, as a SAG person, is you also get something that's called meal penalties. If you actually do not get a sit-down break every 6 hours, they incur penalties on top of it. Say crew call is 7 a.m., and you're on with crew call. I'll discuss NDB in a second. after 1 p.m., if you have not broken for lunch or wrapped out for the day, you start getting meal penalties every half an hour. So at 1 o'clock, meal penalties start to kick in. So from 1 to 1:30, you get a bump of $7.50. From 1:30 to 2 for your second meal penalty, you get $10. And then every single meal penalty after that until a break occurs, you get $12.50. So when I mentioned before, when you had an overnight and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're making double time and you're making a 20% rate on that, you can start making over $90 an hour as a background actor if you have double time, 20% on the night premium on that, and then also $25 an hour because they're continuing to throw meal penalties out there. You make over $90 an hour to be a background actor. So yeah, you can pull off some pretty decent coin here. What I showed you with this was a check for almost $400 gross on 9.6 hours net. So you really, like I said, if this goes 10, 12, 13 hours, dude, you make some good coin. The question is, can you make enough days? And that's where it's really going to come down to the area that you're in and what you bring to the table. If you are referred to as a core person, so sometimes police procedurals will have core NYPD or PD in general, core detectives or anybody like that, they will bring them back on a regular basis. If you are a picture car person, which I do a lot of depending on which car they need, I've got about 4 cars at my disposal if I need to flip-flop certain things, and I'll bring the car that they want. When my mom was alive, she had a 1995 Ford Taurus, so anything in the 90s or early 2000s, if it was set with a scene like that, they would take that car in a heartbeat, because mom never drove it. She only had 43,000 miles on that thing, and productions loved it because it looked great. The car was in great shape, despite the fact that it was like all the way back in the mid-90s. And productions would be like, did you sell that car? Yeah. Okay, cool. Can you be here over in Ramsey, New Jersey, like on Fridays? Like, yeah, sure. And then you get out of zone, you'll get all this kind of stuff. So I would just drive my car to my parents' house, borrow mom's car, and just take it north. So it really works out pretty well on that side of it. But it's a matter of, is there enough work to be found for you in your area? That's the X factor. And that's why I'm saying it is possible to be a full-time actor on this, because the income is definitely there if you keep doing enough days. The health insurance also, I'll talk about that in probably another video. So basically, to wrap this up, can you be a full-time background actor? Yes, you can. Can you be a part-time background actor? Absolutely. Are you suddenly going to get discovered and basically have become an A-list celebrity overnight because some director saw you and said, that blur over there is an amazing human being. I need them in my movie. No, it ain't going to happen. For every one person that basically gets discovered as a background actor and becomes a celebrity, there are tens of thousands that are just a constant blur for life. So in this case, know your lane, accept your lane, be okay. If you're okay with that lane, roll with it, because background actors are always needed. They've been referred to as basically props that eat. So you have a job, you have a responsibility, and it's a good chance to be able to pick up some extra income, get some free grub, make some few friends, and ironically enough, become the life of every party. The problem that I have, weirdly enough, as an almost Z-list celebrity, is I go to a party and people are like, so what's Ryan Reynolds like? He's okay. He knows nothing about baseball. He knows everything about Canadian football, but, that's kind of, these stories that basically gravitate you to be the center of every party, because everybody you surround yourself with are people that, remember that one time they saw Steve Buscemi in a Walmart back in 2006. That's the limit to what they've got. Meanwhile, it's like, have you ever met Ewan McGregor? It's like, yeah, I one time actually said, hello there to him on the set of Halston, because I'm not going to get another chance to say hello there to Ewan McGregor, and I'm like, sure as hell going to do it. No, I did not get fired, and he got a laugh out of it. I think it was more of a courtesy laugh, but I'll take what I can get. But you will become the life of the party a little bit on your regular circle, because you have everybody that just works a regular job. So it can be kind of fun. It can be a little weird sometimes. It's like, so have you ever met Hugh Jackman? Yes. Can I just watch this Super Bowl, please? So this is the kind of stuff that'll happen. But I'm getting off track. But yeah, as far as, like I said, production goes, if they need background actors, yeah, they'll a lot of times just call you. If you use something like Casting Networks, if you're using here in this area Central Casting, Grant Wolfley Casting, they have their own internal systems. I think Comer Casting has their own system right here. I think Sourcecast is theirs, I think. But a lot of times you can basically submit to a lot of these things. Actors Access has them, and there's a lot of ways to be able to just get on the radar. Make sure the headshots are up to date, respond quick, because you're going to be going up against a lot of other people who are responding just as fast. And arguably, most importantly, don't be an asshole. This is going to sound crazy, but it is amazing to me how diva-like background actors can get, and how much shit talk they do to PAs about how a PA is not doing the job right, or complaining that their New York strip and penne and vodka is not up to their par. It's like, dude, you're not Emeril Lagasse here. Come on. It's amazing how many people can stand out by just being a nice person on a film set. Film set production can be so challenging, so stressful for crew. A lot of times they're not even allowed to sit down, so they're on their feet the full 14, 15 hours plus, and it is extremely grating. The last thing they want to deal with is an uptight, snobby background actor who is trying to put someone in their place because they auditioned for some web series 6 weeks ago and suddenly feel that their shit is ice cream. Don't be that person. Don't be that guy. But anyway, this video, I think I've pretty much covered all of it. I don't know basically what questions you guys may have or any thoughts you've got. I really kind of flew off the cuff with this video. So let me know in the comments what stories you want, what questions you want. I'll probably go back to doing more videos about the time I accidentally set fire to a table on the set of a director who kind of is an Academy Award nominated director, or all the other stupid things I've done in my time. The time John Voight walked by and farted on me, that happened too. I'll tell you various stories as I go. Anyway, like I said, my name is Scott Churchson. I am almost a Z-list celebrity. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, and as always, stay awesome.